Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. UFC Vegas 57, Arman Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot just ended, and this is going to be my post-fight recap. I'm mainly going to talk about Arman Tsarukyan versus Mateusz Gamrot, as well as the co-main event, Neil Magny versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, but I'm also briefly going to touch on the rest of the fights on the main card. But starting off with the main event, Tsarukyan versus Gamrot, Mateusz Gamrot gets a unanimous decision over Arman Tsarukyan. And watching this live, I thought it was a clear win for Arman Tsarukyan. I'm going to break down how I had it for you live. But before I decided to record this video, I rewatched rounds 3 through 5, which I believe were the most competitive and closest rounds. And my opinion actually changed on this fight. I'm never married to an opinion where I'm insisting this was a robbery, this was that, this was that. I rewatched it. I changed my opinion a little bit. We'll get to that in a minute. Live, how did I score this fight? Rounds 1 and 2, I think, were the least close rounds in the entire fight. I think they're the least controversial. Arman Tsarukyan got a takedown in round 1, but really did nothing with it. There were some scrambles in round 1. Both guys looked really good in round 1, but Arman Tsarukyan was blasting the leg with heavy leg kicks, blasting the body with heavy body kicks, and just overall outstriking Mateusz Gamrot. Second round, more of the same. You know, he was just slamming that kick into the body and stuffing Gamrot's takedowns. I thought round 1 and round 2, I do not think is up for debate. It is clear Arman Tsarukyan won those first 2 rounds. Now, round 3, in real time, when I watched round 3, this was a very competitive round. Gamrot got some takedowns. I think it was midway through the 3rd round. There were some positions where he had the back of Arman, had like one hook in, and didn't really do much with it. But this was a very competitive round. I think it was pretty even on the feet, but I thought Arman Tsarukyan landed the more damaging shots. So in real time, I gave round 3 to Arman Tsarukyan, but I thought it was 50-50. Could have gone either way. Round 4 was very, very close. Both guys were landing good shots. And at the tail end of round 4, Mateusz Gamrot got a takedown and actually got the back for the last 30 or 40 seconds, had the hooks in, was looking for the rear naked choke. And this was a close round that would have went to Mateusz Gamrot because it was very, very close. But I thought that Arman Tsarukyan, with dropping him with the spinning back fist, and also he landed a really good head kick in this round, I thought Arman Tsarukyan definitely outstruck him. I thought he landed the more damaging shots, and I thought that he should get round 4. I thought round 4 was clear for Arman Tsarukyan. So at this point, I had Arman Tsarukyan up 4-0. Going into the 5th round, Arman Tsarukyan starting to slow down. I thought Mateusz Gamrot landed the better shots in the 5th round. Gamrot got multiple takedowns. He didn't really do a lot with it, didn't land a lot of damaging shots, but he got the takedowns. I thought the striking was borderline even, maybe in the favor of Gamrot, and I gave round 5 to Gamrot. So basically, to sum it up, 1, 2, and 4 were clearly Arman when I watched it live. 3 was 50-50, but I gave it to Arman, and 5 was very close, but I gave it to Gamrot. When I went back and rewatched 3 through 5, I thought 3 was clear for Gamrot, pretty clear for Gamrot. I thought that he just, it was very even on strikes. And when the strikes are very even and the damage is pretty even, you have to go to the grappling. And he was able to get a couple takedowns, I think 2 takedowns in this round. So I thought it was Gamrot. He may have even landed a little bit more damaging shots. I think there was a right hand in round 3 that clipped up Tsarukyan pretty bad. Not crazy, nothing crazy that rocked him or anything. When I rewatched round 4 was exactly the same as I remember. And when I rewatched round 5, it was pretty much the same, but it was a lot closer than I remember it being, but I still gave it to Gamrot. So basically, my final opinion was 3-2 Arman Tsarukyan. Again, I know I was talking about it in my live stream, like this might be a robbery, and I was kind of disgusted. This was not a robbery, okay? I go back and rewatch fights, and I decide, okay, was it how I saw it in real time? And sometimes it isn't. This fight was pretty close to how I saw it in real time. The 3rd round, I think could possibly still go Tsarukyan's way, but I just think it was so even on the feet, and then Gamrot got the couple takedowns. I just think it has to go to Gamrot there, but I could still see that up in the air. 1 and 2, obviously I didn't rewatch that. I thought there was no reason to rewatch that. I thought it was so clear for Tsarukyan in rounds 1 and 2. And round 5, it was very competitive, but again, I gave it to Gamrot. So it should have been 3-2 Arman. And, it's not the biggest robbery in the world. I wouldn't even call it a robbery because robbery is a clear, egregious, decision. And I guess you could give round 4 to Gamrot. I just don't see it. I mean, I know the striking was competitive. I know that Gamrot got some takedowns or got that takedown towards the tail end of the round. But at the same time, how can you favor that? Even if the striking is even and Gamrot got the takedown, Arman dropped him with a spinning back fist, hurt him badly. And I think he made a vital mistake in this area, which I'm going to get to in a second when I kind of break down the fight and what I saw. I just think it was a clear 4th round for Tsarukyan. And it just sucks because I feel like Tsarukyan kind of proved that he was the better fighter. I think he had a little bit of gas tank issues in round 4 and 5 that kind of was detrimental to him in this fight. But we know the scoring criteria. It's supposed to be based on who lands the more damaging shots. And I think really truly on the judges' scorecards, because all 3 judges had the scorecards the same. They had Gamrot winning the last 3 rounds. I think it was the control time. That's what won the fight for Gamrot. So looking at this fight, first off, neither one of these guys' stock drops. Both guys looked phenomenal. I was very high. A lot of people were very high on both these guys. I don't think either one of these guys' stock drops at all. My analysis going into the fight that I favored Tsarukyan on the feet, and I thought Gamrot had a slight edge on the ground, but not enough to make a really significant difference, was kind of right. I mean, I guess not really because he did the groundwork is what I think won him this fight. But this was a very competitive fight, even though I thought Arman won. It was a very competitive back and forth fight. And basically what this consisted of was Tsarukyan just slamming body kicks and throwing great leg kicks throughout this fight, slamming into Mateusz Gamrot's legs. And Gamrot, his hands, he just doesn't look as fluid on the feet as Tsarukyan. Tsarukyan has very good kicks. His hands need work. Both guys' punches leave a lot to be desired. A lot of swinging and hitting air. Not a lot of combinations landing with the hands. Tsarukyan's kicks look world class. I mean, he was slamming into that body. He was throwing head kicks. He was chopping the legs. He even landed a spinning back kick to the body. I think that was in the 4th round as well. But Gamrot had the slight edge when it came to the grappling. Especially, I really think it was the cardio that actually gave him this edge, because I think Gamrot had slightly better cardio than Arman Tsarukyan, and that really paid dividends in that 5th round when he was able to get multiple takedowns. Tsarukyan was able to scramble back to his feet most of the time, but still, those were vital moments where now you look back and you look at the judges' scorecards that probably won him the fight, unfortunately, for Tsarukyan. And I think both guys looked world-class. I think both guys looked like elite-level fighters. I think both guys belong in the top 10, even though neither one of them are in the top 10. And I don't know if either one of them gets into the top 10 with this fight. I don't think Gamrot's probably going to jump up to top 10. I think Tsarukyan's ranked 1 spot above him. But both guys looked good. I think both guys need to work on their striking. I think Tsarukyan needs to work on his cardio a little bit. But this was a very high output fight. There was a lot of scrambles. It was a very fun fight to watch live. But I just think both those guys need to work on their punches and combinations, just on their hands in general. I mean, we can tell they're both world-class grapplers. And I really believe Arman Tsarukyan and Mateusz Gamrot are the future of the top 10 of the division. You have guys like Tony Ferguson and Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler who just aren't going to be around forever. And I really think even though Arman's lost this fight now, he's 25 years old. Mateusz Gamrot, I believe he's 31 or 30. These guys are going to be sticking around for the next 4 or 5 years, and they're going to kind of replace some of these older guys within the lightweight division. And the lightweight division is getting very grappling heavy. I mean, you have Islam Makhachev on the verge of a title shot. Oliveira's kind of a 50-50, more of a jiu-jitsu guy, but a very good grappler himself. And then you have Tsarukyan and Gamrot making their way up. And again, I don't think either one of these guys really lose any stock. I think they both need to work on their striking. I think Arman needs to work on his stamina. I was a little bit disappointed in Gamrot's striking. I didn't think, he didn't really mix in the kicks too well. The takedowns weren't that great early on. He was kind of shooting from far away. And another massive mistake that Tsarukyan made throughout this fight is he was winning on the feet. He was outstriking Gamrot. And for whatever reason, he kept initiating the grappling exchanges, and then he would end up in a bad position because he initiated the grappling exchanges. And also in the 4th round, when he dropped Mateusz Gamrot with that spinning back fist, he went in and started grappling. Instead of backing off, disengaging, and looking to finish him on the feet, he gave Mateusz Gamrot vital recovery time in this fight. As soon as, Mateusz Gamrot was able to just get a hold of him, hang on to him, Arman was not able to land any really ground and pound at all. This went on for like a minute and a half before they finally got back to their feet and disengaged, and Gamrot was 100% recovered. I talk about this all the time. Killer instinct, when a fighter hurts another fighter and they go after him for the kill, and there's just some guys who don't do it. Maybe they just back off. Maybe they're a little bit worried about getting caught with a strike or something like that. And there's other guys that just go to the grappling rather than just keeping the fighter that you just hurt on the feet and looking to finish them. I think that was a massive mistake for Arman Tsarukyan in that 4th round, and it may have very well cost him the fight. Okay, that's enough about the main event. Moving down to the co-main event, Shavkat Rakhmonov wins via 2nd round submission over Neil Magny, and he beat Neil Magny from bell to bell. Caught a body kick early on, took him down, advanced position, landed some good ground and pound, picked his shots, was beating up the body. I was getting a little bit worried about the up kicks of Neil Magny. He was stacking him quite a bit, but beat up Neil Magny. I think at the end of this round, he was in full mount. Didn't do any real crazy damage, but he landed some decent ground and pound, and he was just constantly looking to advance. There was a position at one point in time where their legs were just intertwined. Neil Magny was looking for some type of leg lock or heel hook, but it really never got close. Shavkat was very aware of what he was trying to do, and it was kind of like a stalemate for a little bit. But Shavkat just dominated Neil Magny in the 1st round, clear 10-8 round. 2nd round came out. Similar situation. Shavkat clinches up with him. Neil Magny looked like with his back against the cage, he was trying to trip Shavkat. The second he intertwined his leg looking for the trip, Shavkat just dumped him to the ground. And again, another dominant round. He was just beating up Neil Magny in side control, beating him up in half guard. He was stacking him against the fence, landing decent ground and pound, and just brutalizing him on the ground. And at the tail end of the round, Shavkat locks up a perfect guillotine and taps out Neil Magny. I think there was like 4 seconds to go, and he timed it perfectly just in time for the bell. Neil Magny taps. I think there was like 2 seconds left when Neil Magny tapped, and this was a great performance. This was a step up in competition for Shavkat Rakhmonov. A lot of people, myself included, are very high on Shavkat, and he went out there and dominated a guy like Neil Magny. And I understand that Neil Magny is the gatekeeper of the division, but to go out there, Neil Magny goes out there sometimes, and I get, against the elite of the elite, he's been out-grappled before, but he's gone out there against other guys and out-grappled them, out-grappling Li Jingliang, out-grappling Robbie Lawler when Robbie Lawler was still in the top 15. Neil Magny is a very well-rounded fighter, and Shavkat made him look like he didn't even belong in there, just dominated him from start to finish. Neil Magny had nothing to offer on the ground. He just couldn't get up. He looked helpless on the ground. And it's not like he wasn't trying. He was trying to get out of those positions. And Shavkat Rakhmonov just made it look so effortless, and he just controlled him on the ground, and Neil Magny was helpless. And to lock up a 2nd round submission, I thought Shavkat would finish him in the 2nd round via TKO. I thought he was going to, land some type of strike, rock him, then follow him to the ground. But Shavkat, a finish over Neil Magny. Neil Magny is very durable. And to go out there and put on the performance he did, I can't wait to see what's next for Shavkat Rakhmonov. Honestly, I'm ready to give him the Khamzat Chimaev treatment. Throw him up there against a top 5 guy. Give him Bilal. Give him Vicente Luque if he beats Jeff Neal. Give him Khamzat Chimaev for all I care. I doubt the UFC would do that. Both guys, they're trying to build as stars within the UFC. But honestly, Shavkat versus anyone in the top 10 at this point. Wonderboy Thompson has kind of been thrown around a little bit. I don't necessarily want to see that. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson's on his way out. I don't think he's going to take that fight anyway. Sean Brady's kind of another up-and-coming guy. I think he's currently ranked number 9. I wouldn't mind seeing Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Sean Brady as well. I really think that Shavkat is a very well-rounded fighter. He looked very good in this fight. He looked cool, calm, and collected. He looked comfortable on the ground. He looked comfortable on the feet. And he just went in there and executed the perfect strategy. And Neil Magny really had nothing to offer for him at all. Great win for Shavkat Rakhmonov, and I can't wait to see who he fights next. Moving down the card, Josh Parisian versus Alan Baudot. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this fight. Josh Parisian ate some shots early. Toward the end of the round, or in the middle of the round, he was looking for an armbar, ate some brutal ground and pound. I really think this is where Baudot kind of gassed himself out. Neither one of these guys have great stamina. Towards the end of the first round, even though Parisian, I believe, lost the first round, he landed some good shots. He was in an advantageous position. Baudot looked gassed, sitting against the fence. He was beating him up. Second round came out. He took Baudot down. He knew Baudot was gassed and was just beating up on him for like 3 or 4 minutes before finally Mark Smith jumped in. I mean, there was 3 minutes of unanswered shots from Parisian, and Mark Smith's like, fight back, fight back. And he wasn't doing anything but just getting beat up, and Parisian was getting gassed. So honestly, I thought he was going to gas out and get finished himself at some point just because of how many strikes he was throwing. But he was able to eventually get the stoppage. Not a fight that I particularly enjoyed. I'm unsure why it was on the main card, but he won the fight. Moving down the card, we have Thiago Moisés versus Christos Giagos. And this was a dominant win by Thiago Moisés. He came in on a 2-fight losing streak. He shot in on a single leg. Christos Giagos kind of turned into him. They were both down on their knees. And Thiago Moisés jumped up on his back, got a body triangle standing up, softened him up with some punches, and then locked in a rear naked choke. First round rear naked choke for Thiago Moisés. And I've been saying for a while, Thiago Moisés is underrated. I get that he got starched by Joel Alvarez. I get that he lost to Islam Makhachev, but Thiago Moisés is still a very good lightweight. And we need guys like him, especially in a talent-rich division like the lightweight division. I'm curious to see where he goes next. Not a lot to analyze from this fight. I mean, basically it was a takedown, a little bit of shots once he had his back, and then he locked up the rear naked choke. So not really a lot to talk about, but great win for Thiago Moisés. Moving down the card, Umar Nurmagomedov versus Nate Maness. Dominated Nate Maness from bell to bell. Tripped him down, dominated him in the first round. Not a lot of ground to pound, but he landed some good shots. He ended the round in full mount, and I really thought, okay, it's going to be over for Nate Maness. Second round, took him down, controlled him more, landed some good ground and pound. And then the third round was a little bit more striking. It seemed like Umar Nurmagomedov wanted to strike with him a little bit more. He landed a nasty head kick, and then he took him down midway through the ground, and just more control for Umar Nurmagomedov. He won via decision. He looked good in this fight. The stamina looked good. I think it was good for him to go a full 15 minutes. Nate Maness throughout this fight, no matter what position Umar Nurmagomedov was in, he did not want to give up his back to him because he was so worried about that rear naked choke. And Umar, I mean, he was looking for it. He was looking to jump on that back. There was a couple times that Maness kind of turned into him. And when he did this, Umar was immediately looking to lock the hooks in, and then Maness would go immediately back to his back. But Maness, this is similar to the Neil Magny Shavkat Rakhmonov fight, except Umar didn't get the submission. I mean, he had nothing to offer. He could not get up, and he was worried about the jiu-jitsu of Umar Nurmagomedov because at some points he got full guard, he regained full guard, and he would put a body lock from the bottom, which basically means I don't want this guy passing my guard. I'm worried about his submission game. I'm worried about his ground and pound. A great win for Umar Nurmagomedov, a decent step up in competition for his third fight in the UFC, and I'm very curious to see where he goes from here because the bantamweight division is just stacked from top to bottom. If Jack Shore wins his fight against Ricky Simone, I would love to see the UFC rebook that fight, but I think they're trying to build both guys. But great win for Umar Nurmagomedov. Moving down the card, friend of the channel, Chris Curtis versus Rodolfo Vieira. Chris Curtis wins via decision. The first round, I thought Rodolfo Vieira won this round. He shot in on some takedowns. He got stuffed, but he landed some good shots in this round, and Chris Curtis just wasn't super active, and it was a close round. I mean, Chris Curtis landed some shots of his own, but I thought Rodolfo Vieira landed the cleaner shots, the more damaging shots, and I thought he won the first round, even though it was close. It was kind of up for debate. The second round, Chris Curtis obviously, must have known that the first round kind of was 50-50, and he really started to turn it up. He was landing good shots, good straight rights on Rodolfo Vieira, and he started ripping the body nonstop. And I really think this is what wore the gas tank of Rodolfo Vieira. And Vieira, the takedowns just came more labored and more labored and more labored in the second and third round because I think his gas tank was failing him. Third round, same thing. Chris Curtis was just ripping the body of Vieira over and over and over again. and landing the better shots on the feet. I thought it was a clear 29-28 win for Chris Curtis. And I think with this win, this may catapult Chris Curtis into the top 15 of the division. I think he's a very good middleweight. And you look at the top of the division, or the top 15 of the division, you got Edmen Shahbazyan kind of hanging out there. I think Chris Curtis could easily take the spot of Edmen Shahbazyan. This was a decent win. Chris Curtis was not super active in the first round. That was really the only really flaw in this performance. But outside of that, he tore Rodolfo Vieira up, and it's hard. You could tell he was kind of tentative in that first round because he was worried about the takedown. Chris Curtis was clearly the better striker in this fight, but in that first round, because of the fear of the takedown, Rodolfo Vieira was kind of able to steal that round. But as the rounds, and this is exactly how I thought this fight would go, as the rounds went on, his confidence was building. He knew that he could stuff the takedowns of Rodolfo Vieira, and that's when he really started to open up the striking, land the body shots. He landed some vicious body shots throughout this fight, and that's when he really started to take over, and he clearly won the second and third round. Wasn't up for debate. Great takedown defense. Sometimes in the past, Chris Curtis has shown, the ability to be taken down, but he's clearly been working on that, and Rodolfo Vieira looked massive in this fight, and he shot in on like 20-some takedowns, and Chris Curtis stuffed every single takedown in this fight. So great takedown defense, great win for Chris Curtis. Can't wait to see who he fights next. I talked to him recently. He said, until he gets a new contract, he would like to kind of, get some fights that are more winnable than maybe he doesn't want to jump into a top 10 fight without renegotiating his contract. But if he jumps in the top 15, I hope that the UFC renegotiates his contract. I hope they give him a big fight next. And I wouldn't mind seeing him take on an Edmen Shahbazyan in his next fight. Or maybe the winner of Brad Tavares versus Dricus du Plessis at UFC 276 next week. Chris Curtis was originally supposed to fight du Plessis back at UFC 273. So I think that fight makes a lot of sense, whoever wins that fight. So hopefully the UFC is able to work out his contract situation. I can't wait to see what's next for him. And, that pretty much does it. UFC Vegas 57 wasn't as good as UFC Austin, but it was a solid card. I really enjoyed the main event. I really enjoyed the co-main event as well. There was a couple great fights. The prelims weren't all that great, but UFC Austin can't happen every single week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Who did you score the main event for? Did you score it for Arman Tsarukyan or Mateusz Gamrot? Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.